I was hesitant to franchising initially. I mean, I think it's fair, especially in the UK. I think that my view was that franchising, a bit like cleaning, like was had a bad name with it. Right. This is about entrepreneurs. This is about working with others, and it seems like, oh, you just build a brand. You're not really doing much for us, right? It's like, oh, here's your royalty, and that was, we had the 360-degree principle in Fantastic, which is about us, the staff, the partners or franchisees, the clients, and the planet. So it was the full circle around it. So
Yeah.
we had that in there, and franchising actually really fit well into that. And that was a thing of one of the reasons going down that route, because you have some ownership, you have the best of both worlds. Starting a commercial cleaning company from scratch, and I think you're doing a great job, Matt, in training people in learning about the things, right? So internally, and what I wrote about a lot about in my book is that there's a benefit of franchising, where if you're not competing, one is London or Oxford competing
Yeah.
against the other. You've got Oxford and Manchester. They learned something in Manchester, and they're teaching the Oxford guys how to improve that. That's something you don't see unless you're a mega corporate, that covers the whole thing. Then, that's how you win your contracts. That's how you win your work. In franchising, you help a lot each other. And I'd say that clean in some ways, and all services, whether it's pest control, it's a little bit of a lonely game. A little bit of a lonely game. And you're up there and it's like, what are you really providing value? What are you really doing? It's like you're just winning contracts. And so we try to build a community. And that's what became Fantastic. And I think we managed to get that right quite early on. It's not been an easy ride, because we had COVID, we had Brexit, we had all the other things,
Yeah.
but everybody had the same. And I
Yeah.
said, in that situation, we were stronger together than we were alone. I think, I feel for every single one of contractual cleaning jobs, of either somebody won a ton of contracts, somebody didn't.
Yeah.
And those VIP lanes, there's all sorts of fun going on,
Yeah, it's true.
right? I have no idea what, and this stuff here, we were so focused on the domestic side of things. So that's very interesting. And it's like, I think it's been a very lonely game, and you're up against this stuff here. But what if you were part of this stuff here? One of the things that I always see, and the reason why I was hesitant with franchising, was this thing is, at one stage, you might want to get rid of your company. There's more likelihood of selling a franchise company. You're not building up a brand, you're building up a lot of contracts. There's more likelihood of selling a franchise company because it's running inside a system that one of your peers knows, right? So they know how it's run. So that means that if you decide to move on and do something else, there's more chance of selling that, and that can go in as quick as a day sometimes. Whereas you put a company up on for market that has X amount of contracts, it can take a very long time to dispose of.
Mm.
I think that that's kind of part of what the fee is of being in the system. And that was something that we thought a lot about. How do we add value to it? Everything had to
Yeah.
add.
So you're saying that being in the system and obviously the community aspect, which is a massive benefit. Like what do you think is the foundational strength of your franchise system? What is kind of the platform off which everything else has grown to help a franchisee take one of the, because I saw on your website you've got 3 different franchise models.
We got 4 or 5. It depends a little
Okay.
bit. Got some partnerships that are more open towards new services we're launching, so we've got more. But the key 3 things is as I said, the foundation for franchise. One is the brand is recognized, right? We've got enough cars on the street to know, and people see us almost every day. So that's one thing, is the recognition of the brand. That's a huge part of it. It's like, okay, well, you don't have to introduce yourself the same way, because that's Fantastic Services. They do cleaning, handyman, gardening, and so forth. So you don't have to introduce yourself, or if you're called, like SJ Cleaners.
Yeah.
Who are you? Like they'll look up your company records and find out, are they bidding, and so forth. So you have that. That's the brand value. Then on top of that, we have a corporate training team who trains in corporate sales, who trains in growth and business development. We have a team that works dedicated on helping with marketing. We have a team that dedicated helps with call answering and conversion rates and so forth. Then we have the whole system behind us, which is a software system as well that helps us, make 10, 15, up to 25% more per jobs, in the idea that you can do 4 jobs a day instead of 3 by proper scheduling, by proper fleet management, and by mixing some of your partners along with it. So you're getting a hell of a lot for very money compared to what it does. I mean, it's there is the initial investment in all the materials and so forth. It's also for existing companies, and we brought on a couple of existing companies, and we're quite flexible in how we do it. But the main idea is that they have to be on the system, because that allows you to. I mean, like, our software has been 14 years in the making, and there's nothing on the market that has franchise management, as well as fleet management, as well as pricing, as well as indirect billing, invoicing. Everything is in there, from call center management to loyalty to everything else. So it has that part of it, and it has the customer management, the CRM and everything, and building that, or whether you take something off the block and say, okay, well, that does X, Y, Z. This isn't made for your service, and you'd have to spend money on communicating that, but also you had to spend money on changing that and mixing that in. And I think it's quite a steep hurdle actually to implement the system. Versus this is made for it. It's like it's instant on. Everybody has an app and check in, check out. There's check-in reports, there's surveys reports, there's we've done the work, we've done everything else. So it's all there. That's a huge value. But I also think the network. This is what I said about somebody in Oxford has learned something about this way of doing it with whether they're getting schools, whether they're getting contract with something else. That person in Manchester is on that level now and say, I want to go to that level. That's what I think really adds value.
So the shared insights, right? Because I guess that's what, as an independent, you don't necessarily have, because everyone's cagey about protecting.
And they don't want to share.
Because
how did you do that? How did you get the cars for that price? How do you get, which leasing agreement do you get? Where do you buy your equipment and the stuff here? And then suddenly you have buying power because you're larger. So I think that's what's often frowned upon. It's like, oh, I don't want to join a franchise. And that's why I was always reluctant for it, because it's like, okay, how does that work? And then when we looked at all the benefits, that's how it works.